What if you're wrong about who your top 10 customers are? Or worse yet, how many customers you actually have? How would that impact your business? In this video, you'll learn about how the Reltio Connector for Snowflake can play an integral part in ensuring you can get accurate and trustworthy answers to your business questions. Please note, this video assumes you're already familiar with some of the core capabilities of the Reltio platform in general. If that's not the case, please check out part 1, 2, and 5 of the demo series, all of which are available under the resources link on the Reltio website. Reltio acts as a data unification and management platform in complex organizations that struggle with duplicative and inconsistent data about customers, products, suppliers, locations, assets, and so on, scattered across many different operational systems. Reltio can accept any data source from any environment, whether it be from transactional enterprise apps, third-party data sources, legacy systems, and so on. As data flows into Reltio, it undergoes automated cleansing, matching, and merging in real time via rules-based and ML processes to unify and enrich the data. This trusted and unified data is then exposed via powerful REST APIs for real-time, near real-time, and batch-based use cases to support various business outcomes. The Reltio Snowflake Connector leverages the asynchronous event-based output from Reltio to continuously deliver data about entities, relationships, interactions, matches, and merges to your Snowflake instance. The data is delivered to Snowflake in JSON format, where it can then be flattened out as needed in your queries. The demonstration you're about to see will start in the Snowflake instance, where we'll see some of the out-of-the-box tables and views that capture the ongoing data stream being sent from Reltio. From there, we'll progress to working through an example showcasing a before and after image of some reports based on merging duplicates in Reltio, and also unmerging to showcase the near real-time nature of the connector. In my Snowflake instance, you can see various tables and views on the left side. Data is continuously delivered to these tables via the Reltio to Snowflake connector. These table structures are consistent no matter what type of data you have in Reltio, offering a very simple transformation point for all your queries and reports. The table called Data Table contains the superset of all data sent from Reltio. Each of these tables, as their name suggests, are the home to the Reltio data of that particular type. A quick glance at the data table shows us that we have various attributes such as the Reltio-generated URI or primary key, the record version, which allows us to travel back in time if we want to, timestamp, the entity type, and so on. Notice the JSON attribute here containing the entire JSON payload from this particular record. The entities table is the home to my entity data such as organizations, locations, individuals, products, and so on. If I now glance at some data in here, I can see the URI, version, entity type, and so on. Here you can also see the attributes are now in their own column, as are the crosswalks with their JSON-specific payloads. We've also created some views that flatten out the JSON structures in the entities table so that we can interact with the data in a more familiar relational manner. Here is a quick example of a flattened out view of the customer data showing the URI, the name, the city, and the state. This now has a much more familiar relational look to it compared to what we started with. We've also created a view based on the crosswalk information, which is where Reltio stores the primary keys of the various contributing sources as duplicates are unified. This will become our connection point to the sales data because sales are recorded based on the keys of the customer records within the various operational systems. Here is a quick example of the flattened out view of the customer crosswalk data, where we can see the URI, the source name, and the source key. Our transactional data exists in a simple fact table called sales, with the customer ID, the date of the transaction amount, and the product ID. Now let's combine the customer data delivered via the Reltio connector with our transactional sales data, which we manually imported, to figure out, for example, who our top 10 customers are by total sales. What you are now seeing is the initial take on our top 10 customers based on total sales. We see Optical Coatings as our top customer, followed by Continuum Management, Griffin Healthcare, Atlantics Global, Northrop Grumman, and so on. Note, These interim results are prior to us performing any merging of some duplicates in Reltio. Because the connector responds to events in the data in a near real-time fashion, if we now step into Reltio and perform some merging of duplicates, our report will change on the fly. I'm now in the Reltio workflow inbox, which is my simple window into data governance tasks that have been assigned to me or to members of my team. One of the videos in this demo series focuses on the Reltio inbox, so please have a look at that if you'd like to learn more about the inbox itself. In this first example, we have a duplicate for International Paper Company. A quick glance at the attributes, match rule, and score gives me confidence that this is in fact a duplicate, even though the names are slightly different. Same applies when looking at the Honeywell duplicate. This seems to be one and the same. There are multiple duplicates here for Trammell Crow, which I can now also review. As I go through the process of reviewing these tasks to decide whether these organization records are in fact duplicates, we're essentially aggregating these duplicative source records under a single Reltio ID and letting our survivorship rules render the best version of the truth for us. Every action I take here generates a data-related event, which in turn is transmitted via the connector to Snowflake. Let's now step back into Snowflake and run our query again to see who our top 10 customers are. Here you can notice a different result straight away. In our original query, Optical Coatings was our top customer, but now we see in fact that Trammell Crow is our top customer, and Optical Coatings has dropped down the list to number 4. Trammell Crow wasn't even on the original report, because it existed as numerous individual records, each one having separate sales amounts, and none of those were large enough to warrant its inclusion in the top 10. Our act of dealing with all those Trammell Crow duplicates in the Reltio inbox a few minutes ago meant that the total sales are now being aggregated correctly under one customer instead of 4. That would have been a big miss in our top 10 report. Also, International Paper Company was number 8, and now it's moved up to number 3. Once we unified those duplicates into a single record, a different picture emerged about the importance of this customer. Similarly, Honeywell was number 6, and now it's number 2. Reltio's machine learning and rules-based matching helped us to identify these duplicates, which in turn have had a material difference on our top 10 customer report. Let's now show an example of what happens if we unmerge a record in Reltio and how that affects our report in a near real-time manner. Let's pretend for a second that we've been informed that the 2 Honeywell records we previously merged are in fact treated as separate customer records by our organization and should not be combined. In my Reltio UI, I can easily correct this error by performing what we call an unmerge. I'm now in the Reltio profile screen looking at my Honeywell record. The profile screen is my configurable window into all the details about any particular record, and it allows me to execute numerous data stewardship functions. One of the videos in this demo series focuses on the capabilities of the Reltio profile screen, which is what you're now seeing. So please have a look at that if you'd like to learn more about this powerful capability. Prior to me performing the unmerge, take a quick note of what you're seeing here. Notice there are multiple names, even though only one is shown by default. This is due to our survivorship rules rendering a particular view of the data for me based on my role. There is an address, there's multiple phone numbers, there's multiple tax IDs, even though only one is being shown, and also multiple identifiers. Lastly, you'll also see that there are 16 contacts associated to this single record. Recall that what we are now seeing as a single record actually used to exist as 2 separate records prior to being merged earlier in the inbox as we saw. What we will now do is unmerge this record, and not only will that change the sales amounts in our report, but it will also change what you see in the profile screen. In order to perform the unmerge, I need to step into the sources view. This screen shows me all the individual source records currently unified or merged together under a single profile. If I hover over a source record I want to unmerge on the right side, note how it highlights the attribute values being supplied by that source. To unmerge, I simply click on the little icon above the source record that looks like lines diverging. What used to be a single instance of data in Reltio is now split into two, and the current profile view is re-rendered using the latest survivorship rules. This unmerge event is now also being transmitted to Snowflake via the connector. Let's now switch back to the profile screen so you can see what's happened as a result of our unmerge. Notice there's only a single name, a single phone number, a single tax ID, a single identifier, and 7 contacts. This is because prior to the merge, we had 2 SAP instances combined together, and after the unmerge, there's only a single SAP record providing these details. If I now switch back to my report and execute the exact query again, we'll get different results. Notice that Honeywell is sitting at number 2 prior to me rerunning this report. After rerunning the report, you can see that Honeywell has now slipped to number 8 from number 2 because the unmerge event has effectively split those 2 Honeywell instances apart into separate records. This means we are no longer aggregating the sales from both instances of Honeywell, and so the updated total sales amount has now dropped from its original amount. With Reltio unifying your enterprise data and transmitting the most accurate and up-to-date version of the data to Snowflake in near real time, you can finally have faith that your reports will in fact be accurate. This kind of automated, near real-time synchronization of data between Reltio and Snowflake is part of the core capabilities of the Reltio Connected Data Platform. It ensures that any query you run in Snowflake will always be using the very latest version of the data from Reltio, thereby improving operational efficiency and reducing the risk of stale data driving poor business decisions in your analytics processes. Like what you saw in this video? Keep watching this series to see more demos of our product in action, or contact us for a complimentary consultation with our team. Thanks for watching.